We've been on lockdown for 3 days and the teachers just started acting strange. Every kid in America has gone through lockdown drills. The real scary thing, however, is when they stop being drills and become the real thing. I was sitting with my friends in pre-calc when it started. My classmates and I all sat smushed together in the corner while the teacher closed the blinds and locked the door. We all sat giggling and whispering to each other until the unfortunate news that it wasn't a drill was announced over the loudspeaker. We assumed it had to have been an active shooter, but it wasn't specified what the threat was. Students and teachers were also instructed to turn off all phones and put them in a box so as not to risk being tracked. A lot of us were hesitant and uncooperative at first, but knowing it could be a hazard to our safety to break the rules, we gave in, turning our phones in. Mr. Pat unlocked the drawer where his handgun was stored, loaded it carefully, and stood by the door ready for if someone was to come in. We sat there terrified for 45 minutes, but as the 1 hour mark hit and nothing had happened, we began to relax a bit. If only we'd known the real reason we were on lockdown, we would have been more careful. The setting went from scared kids all huddled in a corner to chill teenagers who ended up playing a few silent games, taking naps, and eating the leftovers we had from lunch. It ended up being a fun hangout until Melissa, a girl I kinda liked, pointed something out. "Guys, I think the sun is setting." We all got up from our corner and rushed to the blinds. "Hey!" yelled Mr. Pat. "Stay away from the windows." The instructions we were given were extremely strict. The reality that we were still on lockdown set back in, and we returned to our corner. If we weren't already panicky enough again when the clock hit 8 p.m., we knew that what we were experiencing was super serious and began getting really anxious. This wasn't just a normal lockdown, something strange was going on. Some of us paced back and forth, chewed on eraser tips, and even silently cried in the corner. It wasn't until 10 p.m. that another girl, Caddy, stood up and had a change of mindset. It's no longer just hiding and trying to survive from whatever is out there. It's making it through however long we're going to have to be in here for. We all nodded, agreeing that even though the situation itself was pretty scary, our only task at that moment in time was to live in a classroom for a while. Once we all came to that conclusion, we began preparing for the many hours ahead. This started off with us all putting our food in a huge pile and dividing it equally among each other. Melissa and another student named Carter set up a laundry station, while my best friend Sam and I made a sleep area with the different pillows, blankets, and stuffed animals we found around the room. That night, we all had a small dinner, sprayed our clothes with Glade, and went to sleep. Mr. Pat stayed awake just in case. I expected him to fall asleep at one point, but every time I woke up during that night, there he sat, wide-eyed at the door, fully alert. What started off as a fun little survival game in a classroom in a room for more than 2 days. A day passed, and another, and food was now almost gone. We smelled like sweat and air freshener, with many of us breaking out in rashes. It didn't help that the shared potty cubby was overflowing with our shit. We were so focused on ourselves that we didn't even notice that Mr. Pat hadn't moved from his chair in those 3 days. "Do you think he shit himself yet?" Carter asked, whispering to me. "I don't know, do you think we should try talking to him, or has he just lost it?" "I haven't seen him sleep," Grace chimed in. "I think we should see if he's all right," Melissa added. Since it was her idea, we decided that she would be the one to approach him. After slowly approaching him, she lightly tapped on his shoulder. "Mr. Pat?" she asked. "It's all a lie," he hissed back in a hoarse croak. "You all really think we're on lockdown still? You all think it would last 3 whole goddamn days?" Kids starting sitting up from sleeping and got worried. "Mr. Pat, you're scaring us," Grace whispered. "You can't experience fear anymore. It's so obvious. We're all dead." His demeanor turned from distressed to amused. For the first time in days, he stood up from his chair, cackling loudly as he did. "I can prove it. I can prove we all died in this room and we're not actually alive." With absolutely no warning, he pointed his gun at Carter and shot him in the head. We all broke out into a loud panic, screaming and running as far away as possible from Mr. Pat as we could. "It's okay, he's not hurt. We're all already dead. We died on the very first day of lockdown. Look." Again, without warning, he redirected his gun and shot my best friend Sam. "Sam!" With no regard for my own safety, I ran to my friends, whose brains were now splattered across the wall. I don't think I've ever screamed so loud in my whole life. I held his lifeless body in my arms while the other students charged at our teacher. Before they could do anything, he pointed the gun at his own head and pulled the trigger. "Thank you for your patience, students. The lockdown has been lifted, and you can go back to your regularly scheduled classes." The principal's voice was heard over the loudspeaker. For just a moment, we dissociated from the crime scene in our classroom, looking around at each other and then at the loudspeaker. Melissa, with a trembling hand, reached into Mr. Pat's pocket and pulled out the door key. We all followed her to the door, watching as she did her best to unlock the door. As we stepped into the hallway, we noticed all the other distraught students from the other classrooms leaving as well. Many of them were covered in blood and poo. They honestly looked worse than us, but our faces were all the same of utter shock. Mr. Pat wasn't the only teacher who took his life. All the armed teachers had ended up losing their minds, hurting themselves and others in the process. It wasn't even a lockdown. It was a setup, an experiment at that. Schools all across our city had undergone the same thing as the rest of us, as this was a government experiment to see if teachers were able to handle the extent of worsening school threats. I'm not sure about the other schools, but at ours, not one of our teachers survived. The teachers had no idea they were even part of an experiment, just that they had to follow strict rules. Leave all the food for the students, stay awake at all times, remain alert at all times, no matter what. It was the stupid rules they followed that killed them. They tried to cover it up, but I feel that people should know about this.